Hi, I'm Dan Russell-Pinson, and I'm an independent developer, and I make entertainment apps and educational apps. So I work out of my home in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I'm a one-man shop, like Pierre, but without the accent.
Yeah.
So this is my love, my daughter, Lily. She is a fun expert, and she taught me everything I know about fun. This is my first computer. Well, this is my second computer. Atari 800. We used to store our games on one of these cassettes. It took about 30 minutes to save and load. Things got better. So here's what my early apps looked like back in like 1982.
Whoa!
Orbital Peril!
Yeah!
You just feel it. So anyway, that's
semi-advanced laser weapons.
Excuse me?
Semi-advanced laser weapons?
Semi-advanced.
Why was it
Not,
semi-advanced?
well, they blink on and off.
Oh, okay.
So
Those were fabulous graphics, though.
thank you. Yeah, thank you. Isn't it great? So I have about 9 apps in the store now. I'm only showing 8 just to make the anal retentive people angry. So most of my games are educational. The rest are just merely cerebral. I'm best known for my app Stack the States, which has sold a lot of copies. And it's a top 5 app in a lot of different stores, which is great. So I had a busy 12 months, and I wanted to tell you about it. Does anybody get that reference? Because the show is kind of new. So actually within days of getting home from last year's AppCamp, I decided it was time to expand to more platforms. I don't know what triggered that, but something after talking to everybody last year, everybody was like, Android. So I didn't want to be left out. So I thought the time was right to start kind of playing the field with the platforms. So why then? So I had, Stack the States and Stack the Countries are doing pretty well, and I just felt like being stuck on iOS, they weren't really reaching their full potential. And there was a time when me and my wife were vacationing in Asheville, and we were at a Thai restaurant, and I looked over at the table next to me, and there was this family of 4 with 2 kids, and they were playing their tablets and stuff, and I kind of wondered, like maybe most of us do, like I wonder if they had heard of our apps or. But when I looked at them closely, I saw they were Kindles. And I was like, oh, well, they couldn't even be playing my apps even if they wanted to. So Android was kind of a concept before then, but after I kind of saw that, I was like, wait a minute, that's not right. So, and then just the sheer number of Android devices out there was pretty compelling, even though the revenue, sales revenue is lower. But and then Microsoft contacted me about the same time, and they convinced me to port Stack the States and Stack the Countries to Windows 8. So after looking into different development tools, I kind of narrowed in on Unity. I just had everything I wanted, and it was ready to go. The only problem was it didn't have any 2D functionality at the time, so I had to kind of model all of my objects in 3D and use a 3D physics engine, which is kind of weird. But since then, they do support 2D natively. So July last year, I submitted Stack the States to Amazon, and then I got to work porting it for Windows 8. So I eventually ported 4 of my apps to Unity, and eventually to Amazon and Google Play. And for all this effort to be worth it, I had to end up replacing my iOS versions with the new Unity versions. So that was a little risky because I could have introduced a bunch of bugs or killed the player's game progress or something like that. So far so good. So now I have these 4 apps all under one code base, which is great. So when I have to update an app, I can just do it in one place. So let's talk about the different app stores. Amazon had been contacting me for a couple of years trying to get Stack the States on their store, which is nice. So I always had to say no, but finally I could say yes. So I received a lot of enthusiasm from the staff there, which is a welcome change. And since I was new to the Android platform, I made use of their free app of the day for Stack the States and Stack the Countries. And I felt like I had a pretty good experience with that. So the good and the bad, Amazon has a really nice dev portal. Approvals are very fast. I wasn't used to getting an app approved in like 1 or 2 days. The staff was very helpful, and they have a built-in DRM system, so you don't have to worry about that. I was trying to think of anything negative about it. The only thing I could think of was the reviews are kind of weird. Like the people, I don't know, Amazon customers just have a different take on life or something. So for instance, like I got this review from somebody who reviewed Tower Math. You know, so I really expected more out of this game. I suppose it would be okay for kids learning math, but I don't really have any kids in the house, so it didn't really interest me at all. So anyway, it makes you wonder, like, what, why did they buy it? And if they bought it accidentally, why did they review it? So there's a lot of people who just sort of, a lot of people post just to say that they never played the game. Like, I bought it, but
This was Stack the States?
this was for Tower Math.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They got one thing right.
What was that?
They got the math.
Yeah. So,
I like how they gave you 2 stars too.
I know, that was charitable, wasn't it? Yeah. But there are a lot of 1-star reviews saying, I downloaded it, but I didn't really play it, so I just wanted to tell you that. So anyway. But despite all the weirdness with the reviews, and I think a lot of that came from being free after the day, some of these reviews, when somebody gets something for free, they end up not being charitable to you. So when I think of Amazon, I think of shiny, happy people holding hands. But in contrast, when I think about Google Play, this is the image that comes to mind. So I've never really had any contact, like human contact, with anybody at Google Play. So I submitted my apps, and they were assimilated. That's about it. But Stack the States is, last time I checked, it was in the top 5 for education, so it was doing pretty well there. So the good and bad for Google Play, super fast approvals, even faster than Amazon, if I recall. Even more streamlined developer portal. They don't have any built-in DRM, so if you want to do anything to protect your app, you have to insert this license checking code, which was kind of awkward. But I did it because I just wanted to make sure I was doing everything. It doesn't help because, it gets pirated the next day. Happy. So I didn't want to go on without mentioning Windows 8, so trying to think of the pros. So they have an integrated app store, so that's good, right? It works on tablets and desktops. Okay. So it has a pretty low adoption rate, which we kind of know, and along with that comes low sales. And it requires a PC to make an app, if that wasn't obvious. But I actually I actually purchased a PC just to develop for it. So I develop on Unity on my Mac, but you still have to export it to a PC, which creates a Visual Studio project, which you compile. That's really boring. So here's a breakdown. This maybe looks similar to some of the other ones you saw today, but iOS obviously is still the largest share of my revenue. So between Android, Amazon sort of does twice the sales of Google Play, and my Mac and Windows are less than 2% of my sales. So why do I do it? One big milestone was I made my first 3D app this year. So that was exciting. So since I switched to Unity, it's a 3D game engine, so why not make a 3D game? So I want to show you that real quick.
Very blue.
It's very minimal. Okay, so here's Tower Math. I'll just go through it very quickly. It's basically a combination between tower defense games and math. I might turn the music down a bit. So like a lot of my games, you choose a player profile, you create an avatar, enter your name, etc. I'll just use the one I already have. When you push play, the first thing you do is choose your math operation, and I'll choose multiplication, and I'll choose level 5. So if you're familiar with tower defense games, this will look very familiar to you. All these different areas that have the bullseyes are tower pedestals where you can pick towers. So I'm going to click on one. I'm going to choose a lightning tower because those are cool. Level 2, so I'm going to do a math problem to build that tower. And so now it's going to automatically start zapping the enemies, which are numbers. And I will just build a few more. I'll build a cannon tower and all the lobber towers. And you add 14, that gets 84, right? Okay, so obviously the goal is to lay waste to the enemy horde, which are the numbers. So there are some special powers up here. So there's like well, I'll just do the magic rain, do the math problem. So I can tap anywhere on the screen and just lay waste. Like I'll just tap over here. And okay, I better do something about that. Fast, fast, go, go, 80, boom, boom, boom. Okay, quick math now. Did I get it? Go, go.
Quick math now.
I think I did. Oh well, we'll see. So I finished the level. We'll see if I got that last enemy. I did. Gold medal. So that's tower math, such as it is. So working in 3D is really cool. A lot of things come naturally in 3D that you have to work hard to achieve in 2D, like perspective and shadows. All those things just happen naturally. In 2D, you have to kind of tweak it. You can change the point of view very easily. So with 3D, everything you see comes from a camera. So if you feel like you want to have a top-down game instead, you just move the camera up there and point it down. You have a top-down game. And you can mix 2D and 3D elements with Unity, so you don't have to give up one to get the other. So game elements can take longer to create because you're creating a physical model of your objects and you're texturizing it. And optimization was very difficult with the 3D app. With 2D, you just have basically sound and pictures, and you compress those and you're done. 3D has a lot more moving parts. But I did notice one cool advantage having a 3D app. When it came time to make my promo video, I was able to move the camera right there into the action, and I could get these really cool dramatic scenes of my game to use in the video, and it took like no time at all to do it, just because I already had a 3D world.
Looks like something out of Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
You have like the playing cards?
Yeah.
So after releasing Tower Math, I got to thinking really hard about promotion. And I did the usual things like posting to Facebook and Twitter and writing to app reviewers. But it didn't really receive the exposure I had hoped for, at least on iTunes. And so after thinking about it, I came to the obvious conclusion that really nobody knew it existed. So nobody knew it existed, So I started to re-examine my promotional methods, and I just wanted to share with you, a little bit of what I've discovered. Okay. Well, it looks like the promotion functionality is not included in the free presentation. So I don't know. Maybe the laser pointers might work. I don't know.
Give it $1.
Is it worth $1?
Yeah.
Come on. That's sweet. Oh, come on.
We're getting some cancels, Dan.
Yeah. I know.
I think people are. Yeah, I read.
That's all right. Please.
Got change?
Okay, so I think I just made $20 there. So let's talk about marketing and promotion. So Facebook basically doesn't seem to be as effective as maybe it once was. With their new algorithm change, not everybody sees your posts anymore. So I have about 1,000 followers. And so when I post something, I don't know what the exact number is, but maybe only 200 or 300 people of my total see it. And maybe if those people like it and comment on it, maybe some more people will see it. But then I got to thinking, what if I posted my new awesome Tower Math game to Facebook and everybody bought it? That would never happen, right? Well, what if it did? That would just be a really good sales day. I mean, a really exceptional sales day, but then the next day would happen, and then what? So that got me thinking, even my best case scenario, which could never happen, would still not be enough. waiting to get featured by Apple is not something that's in your control. So you can't rely on it. You can't make that part of your marketing plan. So you just have to think of it as a nice bonus to have when it happens. Then I realized the biggest reach I have is inside my apps itself. And so I had a kind of crude cross-promotion system. So at the bottom of my main menus of my apps, I have a little small image that promotes another app in my portfolio. And when you tap it, you just get a, do you want to visit this app? I say it's crude because it's hard-coded. So when I create a new app, I would have to update all of my existing apps to promote my new app. So that's just not feasible. And especially now that I have about 9 apps, it doesn't make sense to update every one of my apps every time I create a new one. So what I did is created a new system that's more dynamic. So now I still have my same image button at the bottom, but it takes you to a new screen which has at the top up to 3 different news items, and then a list of related apps, and then a link to rate the app. And I can change this button and the content of that screen from my server. So that opens up a lot more possibilities for me, and it makes it easier to cross-promote. And it's a little bit early to see what the results are because I really just updated all the apps recently. But I can see a little bit of movement, so I think I'm onto something. So I'll report back. So just to recap, so I ported 4 apps of mine to Unity, and I created a new cross-promoting system and created a new 3D app. So after this process, it was very boring work. I mean, I was very unfulfilled. It was just, it was not in any way creative. So I kind of got a little burned out, but that's okay. But now I have a new perspective for the future, which I'll cover in my new segment, New Rules. So new rule, continue to focus on quality and not quantity. That's always been my philosophy. There's a lot of apps out there to compete with, so you really need to put your best effort forward. And also, making an app is a lot of work, and only a small percentage of it is really fun, and be honest, right? So you really need to create something that you're very proud of and that you're passionate about. New rule, only focus on the platforms that deliver customers. You have to break the rule before you can realize you should not break the rule. So there's a tendency to think that you want to have your app on every single platform and every app store that's available. But I think I would just say that that's not always the best thing. There's a lot of hidden costs to supporting a platform. It takes longer to update your app if you have 18 different app stores you have to go to. Each platform has its weird quirks that we all know, and it can drive you insane. And there's also support issues that come into play. So it's great to try out different platforms, but if they're not really producing customers, then you're spending a lot of time that you could spend elsewhere. So new rule, reduce distractions. So my goal is to keep focused on either creating my next app or doing something to promote my existing apps. I think a lot of us get a lot of emails asking us to put an API in our game, or submit our app to some weird tablet that you've never heard of, or obscure app store that you've never heard of. So I would just say think twice before accepting every offer that comes to you, because it could be a major time vacuum. So new rule, find a proper balance between work and the rest of your life. I think that's self-explanatory. And I'll move on before I have to admit that I'm not doing that. So here's my questions going forward. I'm thinking about price increase for some of my apps, like Stack and States. I'm thinking about focusing just on mobile apps and getting rid of desktop support. But that can be kind of complicated because, like with Windows 8, you're dealing with tablets and the desktop. And my branding is kind of a mess. So for the first 6 years of my career, all of my apps have been listed under my name, Dan Russell-Pinson. But recently, iTunes and I think the Windows Store is forcing us to use our exact business name. So half the stores have Free Cloud Design and half the stores have Dan Russell-Pinson. So it's a branding nightmare. So I have 100 more questions. There's really not enough time in the conference to list them all. And for all of us, I know there's lots of questions that hopefully some of us have answered. But that brings me to tonight's word for the children. So nation, with all the complexities and complications involved in making kids apps, it's sometimes easy for us to lose sight of why we're really doing this in the first place. Most of us aren't here just to entertain kids. When we place an app in the educational category, our goal is to teach children something truly important. And thus, we provide important service that only we can deliver. But let's don't forget those that help us along the way. Let's thank the app reviewers who do what they do for all the right reasons. I mean, who are really doing it for all the right reasons. And iTunes, who ensures that only the most deserving apps will get featured. And Android, for making such a streamlined platform that's so easy to develop for. But most important, it's the kids app developers themselves who are following their passion and doing exactly what they love to do the most. Who innovate new ways for kids to learn, and who are making the world a better place. But sometimes it just doesn't work. Sometimes we put everything into an app that we have, and it still doesn't get noticed. So why on earth would we do this in the first place? I mean, why do we pour so much time and energy and passion into making great kids apps? We do it all together for the children.
For the children.
So thank you for listening.
I give a standing ovation.